no heat. And we got the last motel on 35, and we check in, and it's a done. It should be paid by the hour motel. You know, it's one over by, there's a check cashing, and it's by McDonald's. It was so depressing. We turned on Fox News, and it was 12 o'clock when they announced it.
And it's I sit up there.
I've been depressed ever since. I've been just,
I feel your pain. I do. And, you know, I can't believe it's unheard of. The country is flipped. It's more takers.
But I thought, you know, really interesting, major influence on the Giant 21 sustainable development are the Democrats, this organization. It's amazing, and they're changing municipality by municipality across the country. And Glenn's book came out yesterday, and it's going out to me. Yeah, he's going to pre-sell that. You know, and I said I have 5 copies for y'all.
Ted, do you know Mike? Mike's Shooter. How are you?
Teddy Eamon, yeah.
Teddy Eamon. Okay. George.
I'm in the way of you.
Thank you. All right, continuing on with our meeting. Our workshop discussion, we have 2 items on. One's going to get pushed to the December 3rd meeting, the zoning board adjustment suggestions. But before that, we have the beach concession leases. Obviously, there's no more beachfront. So the ones about the leases, we're going to return their, the idea is to return their deposits and forego any more payments from them. Moving into the future. Do we need a resolution on that? Or
Yeah, you're gonna need something to authorize the borough clerk and borough administrator to do that.
so we need a resolution?
A resolution to allow the return of the security deposits and also the termination of the
Okay, so we can add that on to the resolution calendar. All right, but for worked out discussion, does any member of the council have any comments or objections to returning the money to the beach concession?
I just have a question. I have no problem with that. When we do rebuild, which we will do they get first dibs? Do they get shotgun? Or is it a whole new process that if they were there this year and they had 2 more years on their lease, how does that work?
Well, the resolution would terminate the leases, correct?
Quite honestly, you're gonna go back to a bidding.
It would have to go back to the bidding.
You can't give them preferential treatment.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, we're looking at other avenues as far as the zoning, but yeah.
Without the pavilions next year, could we possibly have businesses running out in trailers?
Yeah, we would love to be able to, you know, we have to have the boardwalk done for the summer. That's a must. But it would be good to have those businesses up on the beachfront, even if they are in trailers. And I've spoken to them, they would like to do that nonetheless. So I don't know, maybe we end up modifying their leases to forego certain payments, and then if we're able to have trailer space for them for the summer, because they're all our small business owners that, you know, losing revenue from one summer is crippling.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to figure out how we do that.
We'll work something out.
And what about restrooms? I'm sure when the people come to the beach, I mean, the restrooms are all destroyed. Are we going to be able to, are the water lines damaged or?
Everyone's gonna have to go in the oceans.
I hope at high tide.
No, right by,
The outgoing tide.
right by Spring Lake. No, Farmers right in the lakes. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, we'll,
Lou, that's our beach.
you know, to have a summer season, we have to have bathrooms. So, you know, those would end up being trailers.
Okay.
Anyone? Comments, questions? No? All right.
So what is the time frame in rebuilding the pavilions?
You know, it'd be great to say we could do it really soon. Talking with our engineers and professionals, you know, if we could have them done by the summer of 2014, you know, that's an achievable goal for physical structures again. And on that, you know, I've been in contact with the Department of Environmental Protection and the commissioner himself before those pavilions came down to get an agreement that we will be allowed to rebuild on the same footprint. So we couldn't increase the size of the buildings north or south, but we could rebuild on the same footprint.
And that would mean there would be no permits?
No permits.
Could that be waived? I mean, those pavilions were built 60, 70 years ago when Belmar was a whole lot smaller, and those footprints really don't fit us anymore. Can we just at least ask them to be nice? And
We can ask them. The only challenge is that when you ask, you know, once you start getting into a permitting process with DEP and CAFRA, it can take an extended period of time. So, but because we're not looking to build those until 2014, it does give us that time to do it. So there's certainly no harm in asking. But at least we know for sure that we could build back what was on the same footprint. Obviously, it's going to be different design and built to withstand something like Hurricane Sandy. You know, as far as increasing it, we could certainly ask, absolutely.
yeah, as you know, Belmar in 2014 is not the same as it was in 1914. You know, well, when was the fishing club built? The fishing club was built in 1919. So I mean, wow, you know, we're so much different. So I would hope that they would say we could go a little bit bigger to accommodate the people that they're always talking about beach access, and they're limiting our beach access by limiting us to the footprint, I would think.
Right. And how about that Belmar Fishing Club, by the way?
That pier is still there.
But we will certainly ask. Any other topics for workshop discussion?
I just wanted to say I had attended a meeting at the mayor's request with Colleen and members of the Belmar Arts Council and members of the Environmental Commission regarding the rebuilding of the boardwalk and the rebuilding of the pavilions, and it was a very, very productive meeting. Many wonderful ideas from different perspectives, environmental, artistic. So I think if we continue to get the input of those groups, then we'll come up with some wonderful new buildings and a good plan for the boardwalk. So I thank those people who were in attendance that day. And I was happy to be there. So, and there were copious notes taken. So. Thank you.
If nothing else, I'll close the workshop. Next is a proclamation. This is Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. Council President Dyke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas in 2012, an estimated 32,180 people will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in the United States, and 31,800 will die from the disease. I think that said 2015. But whereas pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest cancers and is the fourth leading cancer of cancer death in the United States, whereas when symptoms of pancreatic cancer present themselves, it is usually too late for an optimistic prognosis, and 74% of pancreatic cancer patients die within the first year of their diagnosis, while 94% of pancreatic cancer patients die within the first 5 years. Whereas of all the racial ethnic groups in the United States, African Americans have the highest incident rate of pancreatic cancer, between 34% and 70% higher than those of other groups. Whereas there is no cure for pancreatic cancer, and there have been no significant improvements in survival rates in the last 40 years. Whereas the federal government invests significantly less money in pancreatic cancer research than it does in any of the other leading cancer killers. And pancreatic cancer research constitutes only approximately 2% of the national Cancer Institute's federal research funding, a figure far too low given the severity of the disease, its mortality rate, and how little is known about how to arrest it. And whereas the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network is the first and only national patient advocacy organization that serves the pancreatic cancer community in the borough of Belmar and nationwide by focusing its efforts on public policy, research funding, patient services, and public awareness and education related to developing effective treatments and a cure for pancreatic cancer. Whereas the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network and its affiliates in the borough of Belmar support those patients currently battling pancreatic cancer, as well as to those who have lost their lives to the disease and are committed to nothing less than a cure. Whereas the good health and well-being of the residents of the borough of Belmar are enhanced as a direct result of increased awareness about pancreatic cancer and research into early detection, causes, and effective treatments, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council designate the month of November 2012 as Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month in the borough of Belmar.
Thank you. Next, any petitions for the council? No petitions. Next is reports of council. Councilman Governor, anything to report?
I just two short things. We had a great presentation right there. I think everything was said that, well, not everything that could be said that needs to be said, but I will talk about, oh, poor Pat O'Keefe. She came so close. Worked 20 years to open up the Belmar Museum. It was going to open up on that Saturday. Unfortunately, some of the archives were lost, but most were saved. I don't know about Pat. She's a wreck. So if you do see Pat O'Keefe around town, give her a little support. She worked so hard, as I said, for 20 years and came within just days to open that museum. As far as Shade Tree Commission goes, we were planning on working on Silver Lake Island and thinning it out and putting some more trees there, shrubs there. So if there was anything good about Sandy, the island is clean, ready to go, and we can start right from the beginning and make that island a real gold medal with the development from the Shade Tree Commission. We'll get the Environmental Commission, we'll get other people in town to help us out. And so I bet you come springtime you'll start seeing some real nice landscaping of that island to just show that Belmar's coming back. I would like to contact the Arts Council and have them put some type of art type monuments out there that just would, as you drive by town, you just would always identify maybe, how Belmar came back from Sandy, Not a piece of the boardwalk or a bench or a light, but we'll come up with something from the Arts Council. That's my report.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I thank all the people honored here tonight who were instrumental in helping our town get through this devastating event. I briefly mentioned some of our office staff, but I'd like to recognize all of our office staff, including, again, April Claudio, Mary Brabazon, Kelly Williams, Tina Connolly, Pat Works, Kelsey Windus, our harbor staff, Diane Koblish, and Charles Vanderlyn, and George Komitas once again. Our library staff, Roe, Lorraine, Liz, Ray, and David. Anthony Yanazone, who works at the Borough Hall. I want to give special praise to Robin Kirk and our business administrator, Colin Connolly, for their leadership during this time. Kudos to all those loyal, faithful employees for giving of their time so freely and willingly. And if I've forgotten anyone, I humbly apologize. But know that I thank every single borough employee who assisted us on a voluntary basis during and in the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. The overwhelming support from residents and those in nearby communities and not so close communities was something to behold. Donations of supplies, including businesses and restaurants. Teenagers and young adults were out in great numbers lending helping hands wherever needed. New Jersey's future is in kind, caring, and compassionate hands, as was evidenced by the work of these young people. Individuals came from quite a distance, many who told me that they had summered here as children and have wonderful memories of being down the shore here in Belmar, as our community was in their hearts as they came from as far away as New York City, Connecticut, and many other places to offer assistance. How about our food donations from Alabama's Red Cross, security assistance from North Jersey, and as far away as Mississippi? I want to just offer a little bit of information submitted by our Office of Emergency Management, just with some preliminary damage assessments of the affected population. I know this is very preliminary, and it was done to a point that might not have been as thorough, but it'll give you an idea, certainly. Evacuated, 3,200. Displaced, 6,000. Family homes destroyed, 14. Major damage, 1,800. Minor damage, 1,200. So it just gives you an idea. Thankfully, we lost no one. How wonderful is that?
Yeah.
The efforts of our first aid and our water rescue, they were just marvelous. And I just wanted to mention that also. With the borough-affiliated committees I'm involved in, the ADA, the Mayor's Wellness Campaign, and Belmar Cares, as soon as the dust settles a bit more and the library resumes its regular schedule, we'll be back in business with our meetings. That's all I have tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Bean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm working with freeholder Tom Arnaud. We're trying to get, because our library is so damaged, we're trying to get free access for a couple months to the Monmouth County library system. I was hoping today that that'd be in place, but the library is run by a different board than what the freeholders are. So within a day or two, we're gonna have that. I will let April know, and we will put it on the, broadcast it out to everybody. Mayor, did we have our FEMA kickoff meeting at all?
We had our FEMA public assistance kickoff meeting.
But that was for the residents, it was not for the town.
For the town, we did have our kickoff meeting.
When was that?
We had that meeting, I'm gonna say it was on Tuesday morning.
Because I would have loved to be invited to that. Any reason I wasn't?
No member of councils were invited, no.
Any reason why?
It's a kickoff meeting of reviewing of payrolls and financial schedules.
Sounds right up our alley.
Starting to order how we're gonna do our applications.
All right, and also, a lot of these resolutions were on the consent agenda. I did ask to have them, most of them pulled off, so this meeting will be a little bit longer. I just want to make sure that everybody understands every one of these resolutions, all the questions are answered, and so the reason the meeting is longer is because of me. But, that's all I got. Oh yeah, going off of Councilman Govern's idea of the arts putting some kind of marker around town, maybe we need a high tide mark of where the water was, so that 20 years from now they can see it at that spot and say, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe the water was up to here." And that's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilwoman Nicolai.
Yeah, every council meeting I report on several different areas, DPW, recreation, the school, better Belmar Business Partnership. Obviously, in the past few weeks, things are a little different. But I do want to just touch on some highlights. Very glad to see that the schools are back in session. You can definitely see on the children's faces that they're back to some sense of normalcy. I know at Belmar Elementary School they had the lip sync last night, which was really cute. And I think it is good that they have the next few days vacation, just to know that they're back to school but are able to enjoy the time with their family. DPW, Mike Campbell usually gives me some bullet points, and I've got a scroll going out the door and around the world as far as what they've accomplished over the last few weeks. So thank you, and there's no need to touch on any of those because it's very obvious. This Saturday, I have, what we're doing with the volunteers, we are still doing anything and everything you would like as far as anything that Sandy did to your homes. We are doing the pump outs, the carry outs, the clean outs, the sanitizing, the yard work, anything we could do. This Saturday we do have over 150 volunteers already. So please call 681-3700. if you do need something. Please also, if you want to be a volunteer, we could certainly use your assistance. And also very much in need of donations at Belmar.com. If anybody needs to Twitter, Facebook, tell friends, monetary donations are always welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Just a couple things to report on moving forward. This coming Saturday, there's a large town-wide fundraiser that's being put on by a great group of people. It's called 10th Avenue Freeze Out. It's $20. You can buy tickets that day, 12 noon at the Piano Plaza. It kicks off at 2 o'clock, and every bar, restaurant, in pizzeria in Belmar is included. It gives you 2 free drink tickets or 2 meal tickets, I guess. And all the money they're raising is going to come right to us. So it's a great event if you can participate in it. I know some people may be leaving for the weekend to visit family, but if you are around, it's a good way to make a good way to raise some money. Councilwoman Dyke mentioned some of the organizations she's a part of, and it is going to be a little while before things get back to normal. Ocean Avenue is probably going to be closed until May. We're going to have FEMA here every day, 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. In what is supposed to be our community room / senior center. Unfortunately, that grand opening has been delayed. But we, slowly but surely, we're trying to get back to normal. Instead of hearing, people picking up clothes, you can actually hear people bouncing basketballs in the gym again. We're going to try to work with the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and other groups, the Women's Club, that do need meeting places. So contact for all. Please be patient as we do try to come up with places for our organizations to meet. But slowly and surely, we'll be getting back to normal. Also today, along with Colleen, we've established a weekly conference call with the governor's office regarding what we need in Belmar. On that call is Department of Environmental Protection, Board of Public Utilities, Department of Community Affairs. Am I missing anyone? Department of Banking and Insurance as well. That's something to be mindful of as you put through insurance claims. If you're having difficulty, get a hold of us. We're here to help with that as well. And that's going to be a standing conference call once a week. In addition, we are going to be getting more and more involved with FEMA and FEMA representatives in our area because we have a lot of work to do. And that work has to get done. And that work starts tonight on our calendar for resolutions and for our ordinances is the financing to move forward. And we'll discuss that as they come up. But, the one thing I also want to end on is how impressed and how fresh it's been to work with Governor Christie through this whole thing. I think his leadership has been outstanding. I think he sets a real good tone for other politicians in the state that now is not the time to play politics. Now is not the time. There'll be plenty of time for that and other things. Plenty of things to argue about. Let's not argue about the adversaries about rebuilding our town. Let's be collaborative. Let's work together and simply get the job done. So I think he sets a great tone, and I hope you see that the same thing here in Belmar as well. That's all for me. Next is a public session on the approval of minutes. Sorry, Councilwoman President.
Yes. I move that the minutes of the regular meeting held on November 7th, 2012 be approved as recorded, and that a copy thereof be posted on the borough's website.
Second.
Councilman Dyke?
Yes.
Councilman Bowman?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolin?
Yes.
Mayor Dyer?
Yes. Next is public session on the resolution calendar. This is going to be both on the resolutions, on the resolution calendar and on the consent agenda. So if anyone has any questions or comments on the resolution calendar. Please just raise your hand and put your record.
Mike Seebeck, 110 Second Avenue. Majority Council, congratulations to all on the fine work that's been done in the town to restore it back to the state it's in today. It's been a tremendous effort and a lot of accomplishment has been made. As far as a number of the resolutions tonight, I was wondering, Mayor, if you could take the time and explain in some detail some of what you hope to accomplish in terms of reimbursement for purchases and for construction. And I noticed that we have on the calendar this evening a resolution to finance the boardwalk. Could you go into some detail about what some of the proposals are for the boardwalk in terms of how it's going to be done? I would imagine that since it was damaged in both 2011 now and 2012, there might be some requirements put upon us to change the design from what had been there previously to something modified, maybe with dunes or whatever.
Would it be possible to read every resolution, we talk about it, and then we vote, instead of just all talking about all of them at once?
Well, we put public session first, so we'll just, we can go through each one during this public session and vote on them individually. So you want to take the second one, the boardwalk? Boardwalk, based on our estimate from the Basil engineer, which is this was maybe 3 days after the storm, and we saw the damage, and we started getting reports back that the whole thing was done. I asked them to start working on engineering and designing the boardwalk again. It's our understanding that the Department of Environmental Protection will allow us to rebuild what was there without any permits. If we wanted to make it wider, we either have to encroach on Ocean Avenue, which is a county road, or towards the ocean, take out beach. Right now, the only design is to replace what was existing in an effort to get this thing done by this summer. They have preliminary drawings where they would raise it slightly, only 12 inches, and that would be gradual over the course, so there wouldn't be any step-ups or anything like that, of the 1.3 miles of boardwalk. The total is $17 million for the boardwalk. We're not going to build it like we built it before. The last boardwalk lasted 20 years. I don't want my daughter to be 28 walking down the boardwalk and see it get destroyed. There's one part of the boardwalk that was engineered different than every other part. It's in the southern area along 19th Avenue Beach. And when the storm surge came, and you can see there was more devastation in the southern part than the northern part. The beach is more shallow there. And when it came, it destroyed everything around it, except this one section. And the reason why is because how it was engineered. It was engineered to withstand a hurricane like Sandy, and it did. And that's how we're going to build the rest of the boardwalk. It's engineered with hurricane straps. It's all wood. We did look into concrete like Spring Lake has. Problem is the concrete's there, but the boardwalk's still gone, so what's the point? The wood stayed, the piling stayed, but the boardwalk's gone. So we have the same dilemma. But to keep the cost down, we can drive pilings in. We're estimating it's going to be about 2,800 pilings.
Yeah, a lot of the piling heads were damaged before, right?
Well, some of them are very, very old.
Right.
But in the area that Birdsall showed to me and how they designed it, is how we're going to build this new one. So we're not doing it on the cheap. We're going to do it. We're going to build it to last. I'm sure there'll be dunes involved. We had dunes in the past. Didn't seem to do a whole lot when Hurricane Sandy came. Maybe in more minor storms they would, but we'll build the boardwalk to be substantially stronger. There's a cost to it, but it's significantly better than having to clean the thing up every 20 years and do it all over again.
Agreed. Have you consulted FEMA about whether this qualifies as infrastructure and whether we'd get the, was it 75% reimbursement?
Yes,
Typically?
I've discussed with them both our cleanup, carting debris away, and that qualifies for at least 75%. And
Some of it may qualify for 90, right?
some of it may qualify for up to 100.
Okay.
The governor and every member, I think except for one, of the New Jersey federal delegation is pushing for 90%. We don't have that yet, and we're acting as if we're not going to get it, but all indications are we probably will, and the reason why is New Jersey will exceed the threshold for applying for 90% because of how much devastation there was in a financial sense. So, again, we're not going to plan on it. We're going to assume we don't get it. So we're going to assume everything's 75%, and the rest of it is 25% comes out of the beach utility. It's important to note that there will be no residential taxpayers paying for the vehicle. It's going to come out of the beach utility. Now, that's both the cleanup and the reconstruction are both at 75% at a minimum. But again, we're not looking. The governor is advocating for it, and our federal representatives are advocating for 90%, and they believe we'll get it. We're not going to count on it, but we hope we do.
That's terrific. Much of the emergency expenditures, would they be qualified? And is it possible that they could be part of the beach utility even for the 25% in light of the fact that this was an Elaine-driven storm, or? That's not realistic.
They will qualify. Some may be eligible to be charged against the beach utility, some may not. We lost a lot of police vehicles. Our police were outstanding, but cars do not do well when they get flooded with salt water. We lost a fire truck, we lost an ambulance, we lost Department of Public Works vehicles. So we're gonna work within the boundaries of what's permitted. But what can be put against the beach utility certainly will be. But what can't, won't be.
Yeah, I know that's a bit of a reach anyway, but it's good to hear that you're advocating for as much of a reimbursement as possible. Anything 75 to 90% would be tremendous. So
If I may, Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, I had a very long conversation with the FEMA people today, and basically what they were saying was they will pay to rebuild our boardwalk. I believe like the mayor's up to 75%, and they're getting their numbers from basically like an insurance company, what our boardwalk was worth. So the reason why the FEMA kickoff meeting was important to me, I would like to have been at it. There's a cost estimate formula that they use to come up with what our boardwalk is worth. Do we know, Mayor, do they have that number at all? Do we have any numbers whatsoever?
They're going to base their percentage off of something called a PW, project worksheet. We've retained, aside from Birdsall Engineering, we've also added on Louis Berger to work with Birdsall Engineering and FEMA. What we're going to do is we're going to bring FEMA here. We're going to show them the type of construction we're looking to have. And we're going to work up the project worksheet, and it'll be based off that. So the old boardwalk certainly isn't worth $17 million. But what we are going to construct in its place, the same area, same footprint, but with much better construction and better engineering methods. Every indication they told us was that it would be reimbursed not up to, but at least 75%.
it's good to hear. Is that something that the mayor and council can formulate, some kind of way of periodically updating people on progress and any type of feedback we get as we make application for these things?
Yeah, but it's still, FEMA is
it's a long process, I realize.
getting on the ground. And once we had FEMA here, we told everybody. You know, between now and our next meeting on December 3rd, we hope to make a lot of progress. Compared to other towns, we are far, far away ahead of them. There are other towns in Monmouth County that aren't gonna be cleaned up by the summer. They have so much damage. Other ones that, you know, maybe they're gonna clean up by the end of January. Our debris on the beachfront will be cleaned up by the end of this month. We'll be able to start driving pilings sometime in December. And, you know, weather is a concern, but, you know, this is not concrete, this is an asphalt. they're not building a building, they're not building a bridge, they're building a boardwalk, so all indications talking with contractors is that they could build through the winter, even if it was not a very mild one.
Okay, I think I've taken my 5 minutes, and I thank you very much for your update, all of you.
Oh, okay. We have a pocketbook for somebody. He took all the money out.
This is what the storm has done, I'm still not thinking clearly.
Yes, ma'am. And, last one. Yes, ma'am.
I just had knee surgery, so.
Hi, I'm Patty Nugent. I'm known to some of you. I'm a resident, homeowner, resident of Belmar at 104 16th Avenue, 4 houses from the beach. First of all, I want to thank everybody. I also am not a Jersey girl, but I've heard the quote, Jersey strong, and I now know what that means. So this storm has shown us that. My question to you in the reconstruction and putting Belmar back into order is what's going to be done to enhance the beach, the actual sand, you know, and the enhancement of that. And the reason I ask that is when we bought our house a couple of years ago at 104 16th, we actually, based on topography, we're not in a flood zone. So there must have been something about the width of the beach, the height and whatnot, and all that's been destroyed. So the question, and I didn't have to get flood insurance for our mortgage, so based on that, we did get it. We were fortunate we didn't get any water in our but we didn't get any water in our basement, which was remarkable, you know, under the circumstances. But my question is, beyond building just the boardwalk, which helps us economically and also to enjoy the beach, what is being done for the beach restoration that will protect the properties within the immediate area?
There's two parts to that. If you look at the beach, the more northern part is wider. So there was less destruction in the northern part. The southern part, the 16th Avenue, 19th Avenue, as I mentioned before, gets more narrow, and there was more destruction down there. So what we are currently doing is advocating with the governor's office and also Congressman Frank Pallone for the Army Corps of Engineers to widen the beach, beach replenishment. While we do that, we are also, with our engineers, designing and formulating a never-before seawall that would go right in front of the boardwalk. Now, that's not on for tonight, because we need to get a lesson from FEMA before we can do it. It's something that's considered hazard mitigation.
Is this similar to what Avon has, that they have?
Well, everyone has different seawalls.
Okay.
But the design, we're still developing, but it would be incredibly strong. You know, would it withstand a Hurricane Irene? Yes. Would it withstand a Hurricane Sandy? Not 100% sure, but right now there's nothing there. Right now there's nothing protecting the boardwalk, there's nothing protecting your home. There's nothing protecting the water from coming over Ocean Avenue into Lake Como, into the lake, or Silver Lake. So what they're looking at designing now is a seawall. But again, we need to get the blessing of FEMA before we move forward with it, because we need their financing for it. Because we want to be very financially prudent as we go about rebuilding the boardwalk and type of hazard mitigation. But for your purposes, what you're asking, yes, there are plans in the works, 2 plans to try to protect your property from another storm like this.
Okay, and I heard you say something about dunes. There's a lot of good research out there and experiments that show that dunes in conjunction with beach replenishment do provide some degree of protection. So just to keep that. And just one last comment I'd like to make, as we're talking about trailers with bathrooms and trailers with vendors and whatnot, there are people that live in those communities, you know, within the beach blocks. So I would hope that as things are being developed, that there'd be some consultation or the ability to participate or have our voices heard, so that we don't just have, you know, a whole wall of trailers that we're looking at for the summer,
Well,
so.
I totally understand that. The bathroom trailers would be like the previous ones, which are more permanent.
Right,
But any trailers we put up for food vendors or, you know, where Exit 98 was, very temporary, 1 year.
okay.
That's it.
And kind of contained in,
Probably, you know, if possible, pretty much in the same area. But
Okay.
Again, right now, our focus, and the focus tonight, is financing and starting to rebuild the boardwalk itself,
okay,
so we can have a real summer season here in Belmar.
okay, great. Okay, and I thank you for your efforts on behalf of the town.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry about your name.
Oh, it's minor. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Mayor and Council. Teddy Eman, Oakwood Road, Belmar. So in the Manasquan Belmar patch, it says today that there's something about a $29 million bond issue.
It's actually 20 million. 3 million of that is for recovery, debris, and 17 million is based on the estimate that Berkshire gave us for rebuilding the entire boardwalk.
So there will be a bond issued.
Yes, there's, well, tonight is gonna be a first reading of a bond ordinance.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily gonna be issued tonight, but that's the intention, to have a first reading tonight, second reading on December 3rd, as soon as we can do it. And then after that, yeah, we would go out.
So roughly, we're talking about $1 million a city block to redo the boardwalk.
A little less, but.
Little less, but that's pretty high, don't you think?
You know, we're basing it off our engineer's estimate. Hopefully it is high, hopefully you're right. But we'd rather, you know, build something that's gonna last, build it the right way, not necessarily build it the cheapest way. So, you know, it's expensive. It sure
No, I
is.
know. We've been writing about where we invested in one that was more expensive, then it lasted 5 years. Are there other communities that have invested in exactly the same type of boardwalk, and their boardwalk survived Sandy?
I don't know. We can do research on that.
I mean, wouldn't that be important?
Well, I can tell you, I can walk down the corner of Ocean and 19th and look at where it survived, which essentially was ground zero for Belmar.
I could walk on the boardwalk in Bradley Beach tonight, and they had sand dunes and they had a concrete boardwalk. So back to the discussion that was in that article we talked about online, the three mayors were arguing about looking ahead, looking at economics, looking at storms, and, you know, our mayor at that time said, let's hedge our bets, and I'm going to hedge my bet, and I'm going to invest in this new fancy removable boardwalk. And Spring Lake said, we're going to do this nice little fiber board, it's not real wood, and Bradley Beach said, we're going to do the dunes and the concrete boardwalk. So here we are, 20 years later, they win, we lose, Spring Lake loses. Back to foresight. I would think it's most important, before you spend much more for a boardwalk than anybody else is spending, that boardwalk would have proven to have survived through a storm like Sandy.
Well, I'm telling you, the one part that was engineered, the way this is going to be engineered, did. If we built a boardwalk like Bradley Beaches of concrete and pavers, the cost would be off the charts. You're talking 1.3 miles of poured concrete and pavers.
No, I know, but they still have it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it cost you,
Yeah.
really. Do you know what it cost back 20 years ago and what it would cost today? I don't.
I don't, but I can tell you I can tell you without its certainty, it's a heck of a lot more than $17 million. Certainly.
We'll see. You know, the other thing is, do we have when we have this new bond for, how much was it, 20 you said?
Total of $20 million, 17 of that is for the boardwalk, 3 million is simply cleaning up what was there before.
Now, under the redevelopment, do we have bonds related to that we are also liable for?
What do you mean?
Do we have bonds related to the redevelopment agency that taxpayers will be, are there existing bonds now with the redevelopment
With the redevelopment of,
agency? The redevelopment agency, the Seaport, you know, Seaport Village redevelopment. Are there existing bonds? Are there any bonds related that were, all right, so there are no other bonds? This would be the first bond that the taxpayers are responsible for.
No, as I mentioned before, the taxpayers are not, second time, are not responsible for this bond.
Okay, so it's a different kind of bond.
It's a beach utility, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask, you brought up a good question. Did the boardwalks from Avon, Asbury Park, and Ocean Grove survive? Because they're made out of wood.
They all took, no one got beat up as bad as us in Spring Lake.
Right, because probably the surge hit here harder than it did north of us, correct?
Right.
So I would think that, well, Bradley Beach does have big dunes, but the other boardwalks, like Avon, it's wood, it's still there.
Right.
Asbury Park is wood.
I don't know if we can say though, the surge hit harder here than anywhere else. I mean, we don't know that.
Right, and we don't know it did.
Right, so.
And we don't, so.
Sir, did you not email me?
Yes, I
about the
did, Claire,
removable
thank you.
boardwalk?
Yes,
And I gave you that information?
yes, thank you.
Yes, you had brought up to me that you had recalled former Mayor Pringle being quoted in the New York Times and reprinted in the Baltimore Sun,
Right.
that we had a removable boardwalk. And I told you that I was fascinated because I had never heard of that.
Right.
And at one time, yes, we had a very small portion of the boardwalk from 17th to 20th, the narrowest area. But for anyone else who might be interested or got that rumor, that no longer exists. It didn't hold up. And people saw the new Trex boardwalk on that end of the end and wanted the same kind of boardwalk. So that was a reality, but
Sure.
short-lived.
No, and I got that. It's great, though, when you have the resource of an internet. We have a situation where 3 mayors, this is and New York Times is no small thing, and the whole thing gets into something that this mayor now has to deal with. We're talking about hindsight and foresight. So this is a conversation, 1997, and they're talking about storms will come, and there's Mother Nature. And they couldn't predict when the next one was going to be. We haven't had a storm that's devastating since '44 here.
Right.
And if you look at Birdsall's pictures of Ocean Avenue in '44, they're identical to the day after Sandy. Identical. It was a horrible storm. They will come. So they're talking about the economics, and it's great because it's a debate. And even the mayor of Spring Lake gets very snide and says, well, Mayor Pringle, you may pick up your boardwalk, but our residents can walk on ours anytime they want, even in the winter. So it gets real interesting, because it's your 3 mayors, all like, I made a better decision, I saw the future, and, I don't make this stuff up. I mean, we had our previous mayor saying, I'm gonna hedge my bet. I'm putting in a removable boardwalk. And he talks about how people come out and it's become a thing for all year-round residents, watch it being taken up by the equipment and moved off. And I mean, I went online just to see about removable boardwalks, because I had a conversation at breakfast and said, what if, after Sandy, we come up with something that's like removable and we can store it because of the decks, take the decks up. And so I went online, and the only thing I could find was Belmar. Removable boardwalks, and that's what started the whole thing. But it's a great conversation. If you read it, it shows about foresight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
David?
I just want David Schenck, 302 C Street. Actually, really, there's no place in town we could store an entire boardwalk anyway, right?
302 C Street.
302 C Street, yeah. High and dry, actually. I'm so embarrassed. So first, I want to echo the sentiments expressed by so many people tonight. The town really came through for its residents, and there's just too many people to mention to thank. But I do want to congratulate you, Mayor. I think you did a fantastic job. Bravo. And Jennifer, I saw firsthand, the job you were doing down there, and fantastic. It was just so well organized. It was great. So just want to mention that. A couple of questions. if this borrowing is gonna be by the beach utility, it doesn't say anything about that in the ordinance. Shouldn't that be that the beach utility is bonding this money and not the town itself, or?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't draft the ordinance, but I can tell you for sure that it is responsibility of the beach utility to pay back the bond.
Yeah,
not the-
but it doesn't say that in the ordinance, right?
Hold on one second. Just one place where it says in section 5, or section 6A, the purpose described in section 3, the bond is not a current expense, so it's not a current budget. If the improvement or purpose the borough may lawfully undertake as a self-liquidating purpose of a municipal public utility.
It says it's for the beach utility, the beach utility, because really for the protection of the taxpayer, shouldn't it say that it's gonna be paid for strictly by the beach utility and by beach badge sales?
Well, it says the improvement or purpose described is not a current expense. It's not your residential property tax dollar.
So legally, it can't be paid for by property taxes, right?
No.
It's a beach utility bond. If the beach utility doesn't have the money, someone's got to pay. So in theory, if the beach utility doesn't have any money, then someone's got to pay.
I see. So ultimately, we're responsible, but it's not likely that we'll
Well,
have
it's
to
just
pay.
like we're responsible for the beach itself.
Right.
If no tourists came to the beach, taxpayers would have to
Right.
pay for the lifeguards and the police and everything else.
Right.
The way we operate it like a business, and we're going to continue to do that, it pays for itself, and we'll pay the debt load. Now, one of the nice things over the last 2 years we were able to do was to eliminate any debt at the beach. It's the one place in town where we have no debt. Now, this is going to add debt, but it's going to be very manageable debt.
So the debt is going to be listed as a beach utility debt, right?
Correct.
Do you envision, is there like a financial plan? Are we going to have to raise beach badge amount, charges or anything like, in order to pay for this extra, debt, payment that we have to?
We'll know that better at our next council meeting, to be honest with you. Right now, our beach badges for a daily is $7. We're the cheapest around. And when you factor in that someone 15 and under can go for free, in general, a family of 4 can enjoy the Belmar Beach, bring food, everything else for $14. I think we're gonna look at the possibility of increasing that from $7 to $8. Still a good value, still below prices around us. We'll still draw middle-class families throughout New Jersey. But you can rest assured that whatever increase in expenses due to the new debt service we have, the revenue will be there in the beach utility to pay for.
Okay, in that vein, are you aware that Senator, I mentioned to you that Senator Mike Doherty is introducing or plans to introduce legislation that would require any beach towns that accept state money to rebuild their beach fronts have free beach access? And this is what I was getting to in my email exchange with you, is that I'm really worried about accepting all this state and federal money because it always comes with a lot of strings attached. And I fear that we're going to lose control of the project, if we accept so much state and federal money. They never just say, here's the money, do with it what you want, and there's so many different constituencies within the state government, federal government. You have all the environmental, absolutists and, all these other, there's anti-development people and all this different stuff. And I'm just worried that everybody, once we accept federal and state money, that everybody is going to have a say and that we're actually going to lose control over the project. Do you know, if there's gonna be any strings attached, or are we gonna be able to control it like from top to bottom, or?
Well, and again, I spoke with the DEP commissioner myself, and I made a point to speak to him myself, and I heard it from him. We can replace, without any permits, without any strings attached, the same footprint. You can't widen it. I mean, in theory, you can widen it, but you gotta get a capital permit, you gotta get other permits. You could be a year away from even building.
But to build what was already there,
The bill was already there, we have a green light. They'll finance, again, FEMA will finance at a minimum 75% to replace what was there. And the best example of this, it really is Spring Lake. Spring Lake had to build a brand new boardwalk last year because of Hurricane Irene. And talking with their mayor, Jennifer Naughton, they were reimbursed at 75% of the cost for the construction, and there were no strings attached.
oh, good, okay, just, if you would, give me a little extra time, just a couple more questions.
Resolution, Council.
It's about the boardwalk.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, one thing is the storm like we had last week or a few weeks ago, you know, it's like 100-year storm, it's so rare, you know, the last one that was so bad was like before we were even born, you know, you and I. And I'm wondering whether it makes financial sense to, instead of building a boardwalk that can withstand a storm like that, and one thing to bear in mind is that the damage to old people's houses is like much more tragic than the boardwalk, you know, so really that's much worse, you know, the boardwalk, you know, people just walk on it, they don't live in it, so the damage to the houses is really what was really so terrible about the storm. But I wonder whether it might just make more economic sense, instead of building a boardwalk that can withstand a storm like that, or even a lesser storm, but more severe than like 92 or something, whether it makes more sense to build like a breakaway boardwalk, build it cheap and replaceable, a disposable boardwalk, you know, that would, that wouldn't be such a big investment. And, you know, if 10 years from now or 20 years from now there's another storm like that, at least we wouldn't have had $20 million invested in it, you know. It might be something to consider, you know. I don't know.
I see the flaw in your argument, Dave, and that is if the Fed is paying for it, why go cheap?
Well, actually, we're paying for it, and we're state taxpayers and everything else, and plus, it does cause some amount of people resent that the shore towns are getting all this tax money, you know, that we're living in this beautiful place, and then we're getting, there is some amount of resentment. I've seen it in like comments about articles about it. People were saying, why should, you know, people live in, you know, the rural areas or whatever, you know, keep paying to restore Belmar's boardwalk and such. And it would be better if we were more self-sufficient and didn't have to take all this federal money. I would feel better about it. And that leads me to my last point. And I really appreciate the time that you're giving me here to talk. But as I mentioned to you in our email exchange, could we at least like maybe look into the possibility of letting a private developer you know, present some plans and some ideas for running the boardwalk? And, you know, it may be that, you know, and it may even be likely that what you're going forward with is the most viable solution. But, you know, whatever we decide here, whatever you folks decide here, this is going to affect the town for like a generation or more. Hopefully. And I hate to see us rush into it just because we want to have the thing done by May. You know, the world isn't going to end if it isn't done by May, you know, and you know, 20 years from now, people aren't going to care if the thing was done by May or it took until July or August. And, you know, I think we should really get it right. And I think it would behoove us to at least entertain some proposals. You know, there are some towns in New Jersey that have privately run beaches, right? And they supply the lifeguards, they pay the lifeguards and all the beach workers and, and the grounds, Point Pleasant Beach, right, and Long Branch, and I think there's some others. And, you know, privatization is a trend, you know, and sometimes it works out very beneficially for towns to privatize certain services. Did you have a question, Claire?
Yes, I did. I just find that a little bit contradictory, because you just said that if we take money from the federal government and state government, we would lose control. But if we privatize our boardwalk, we lose control. we would lose
No,
control.
no, that's not true at all, because if we allow a private company to develop it, they would have to, we would control the process. They would have to come before us, before you.
But in the
Unfortunately,
end-
I'm not one of
in
yours,
the end,
but
we would not, you know, we would lose some control, would we not, if we privatize the boardwalk?
well, what is it? Well, if someone's collecting beach badges and they're providing lifeguards and they're doing all the services that the state requires us to do, once they decide what to build and you're happy with it, and they may build something even much better than what you're proposing, you know, they may have much more resources available, they may have some very creative people, some big developers, and they may present, it's possible that someone could come in here, some big company that has a lot of resources, and present a plan that would like really wow everybody. We'd be like, wow, who could have imagined something so beautiful could be built here, you know, because, you know, through capitalism, hey, look, all the greatest attractions, you know, Disney World wasn't built by the federal government, you know, all the really great things that we love so much were all built by private companies with a profit motive. And they could maybe make the beach even more beautiful than we could, believe it or not. So I just...
I would never support privatizing the boardwalk. That's just my own opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I, before you start, he brought up a good point. He asked about the strings attached. The senator might want free beach access, but then the state, they have a parkway. They make the people that use the parkway pay a toll. Why don't they eliminate the toll and just make the town that the parkway runs through maintain it?
Well,
You know, this is the same thing. We have to maintain the beach, and you let the people go free, and then it's the residents that would have to pick up the burden of supporting it. It's just, well, the beach badge is just a user fee. You don't, I don't go to the beach. I don't buy a badge. The beach, to me, is free.
Mark Fitzgerald, 1902 Surf Avenue. I just want to thank all you, the council members and all the people that are moving forward to try to get this done quickly and funded by the federal government as soon as possible. These are much more important than some of the other arguments that are being brought up, because once you add additional complexities to changing the design or changing the funding or changing what the rules are, you're going to talk about a couple of years. If this town leads the way in rebuilding the Jersey Shore, Exit 98 will be the go-to place, and it'll set the shining example across the rest of the coast, because we have no other town that is as far ahead as we are. I mean, it's just incredible when you look at up and down the entire coast. This town has the opportunity to rebuild, and that's going to be a big emotional and a big shining star for Belmar, Monmouth County, the state. That's going to go across the country. It's going to be an incredible story if we can possibly get this done by Memorial Day. Anything that stands in the way of accomplishing that mission needs to be brushed aside, because it makes it impractical to get it done. I understand the longer term view, but all us is just going to add to more debate when the design changes and it gets more than simply just trying to make it more secure or more sustainable. We're going to be talking 2015, not this summer. So anyway, thank you guys, and I appreciate, you know, keeping the eye on the ball and what's important.
You know, and just going forward, if someone does want to speak to stuff, please raise your hand. We'll do that fast. But go ahead, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I just want to, I guess, reiterate or say that I'm humbled. I fared pretty well, and I saw my neighbors and the devastation and everything. I just want to say that you, the council, the police, everyone did a great job. I was astonished on how quick the sand got done and the equipment and that came in and everybody, and like it was just unbelievable from what I saw. And all I know is I'm confident that you guys are going to do it, do a great job. You're doing a great job, and whatever it takes, if it's going to be by Memorial next year, whatever it is, I'm just so humbled and so proud to be part of it, and the job you're doing is great. I have one question. I have my dumpsters that are overflowing. Can I call Securitas to come in and pick up my dumpsters?
But we'll get in touch with you.
Okay, thank you so much, and kudos to you.
Any other questions, comments on the resolutions? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public portion of the resolution calendar. Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. We'll take resolutions one by one. First resolution is appointing the Borough Administrator, with advice and consent of the Borough Council. Borough Administrator that I'm putting forward is Tom Conley. It was sad to have Bill leave us. He's done a tremendous amount. In his letter to me, his resignation letter, he suggested Ms. Conley, and I've worked with her the past few months, as all of us have, and seeing her and her performance, and seeing her come back from Disney, where she left her family to be a part of guiding Belmar through Hurricane Sandy. I am very confident she'll be an outstanding business administrator, and it's my pleasure to move the resolution to appoint her as our business administrator. Any second?
Second.
Councilman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Is this just for the month? Is this for?
This is, the administrator is only until the end of the year.
Are we advertising this position at all?
No.
Don't by law we have to, Mr. DuPont?
No.
Okay, my reports. I asked for you charge us $5,000 for reports. I wanted to see them before I made a decision. You didn't have 2 minutes to email them to me in 2 days?
As I responded to you today, I'm happy to get you everything that I possibly can as pursuant to your request. I did not have time to get that to you before 6 o'clock today, but I will be fulfilling your request as soon as possible.
What about my beach reports from a month and a half ago?
We do have beach reports pursuant to your request that you filed yesterday.
Why can't I get them a month ago? I gotta make a decision on financing. I gotta see what the numbers are for the beach.
We
Why
have
can't
your
I
beach
get these?
reports ready for you.
Why couldn't I have them a month ago?
The reports that you were asking for a month ago had not yet been created.
Robin, could you create the reports for me real quick?
We have reports for you prepared that I can give to you immediately.
How long have you known the mayor? How long have you known the mayor?
How long have I known the mayor?
Absolutely.
I've known the mayor for approximately 12 years, I would assume, as I have many people in government.
You donated to him $1,000 in 05? I just don't like this. Claire Dyke.
I have donated to Matt Doherty when he was running for a different office, as I have donated to many political candidates over the years. It's not something I'm ashamed of.
I don't like the fact you got a no-bid contract to get in here, and now you're just getting pushed in again. I would like this to go out to bid. I would like the process to go through. I want the best man to win. I cannot support you. I'm sorry. I want it to go out to bid. I vote no.
Councilman Nicolai?
Yes.
Mayor Darby?
Yes. Next is a resolution, it's a long title, I'll abbreviate it. This is emergency authorization for $2 million. 99% of this is emergency protective measures. We're submitting this immediately to FEMA, and there's no necessarily bonding, but we do have enough notes to sell currently. 75% of this, at a minimum, we picked up by FEMA. And again, as I mentioned before, the governor's office and federal officials are trying to push it to 90, up to 100. Right now, there is 100%. If it was in the course of removing debris for the restoration of power, obviously when we had the town completely flooded, it prevented us from getting power. So that's what this resolution is for. So I'm making a motion to offer the resolution for emergency authorization for $2 million. Need a second?
Second.
Councilman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman Montgomery?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
I'm sorry, real quick, the 2 million, repeat that again there? I just want to make sure I heard it. About 2 million?
It's a $2 million emergency expenditure for cleanup from Hurricane Sandy that we are submitting immediately. And a minimum of 75% would be paid for by FEMA. But again, with the governor's office advocating on all of our behalves, we're pushing to increase that. Hopefully it gets to 90, and we're trying to put some of this through at 100% because if by the 14th of November, all expenses will be paid up to 100% by FEMA if it included work that had to be done for power restoration and or clearing debris for emergency vehicles.
Which one is this? We're not- Am I out of order here? That's only for 2 million?
Correct.
Okay, yes.
Councilman Nicolak?
Yes.
Mayor Dyer?
Yes. Next resolution is emergency authorization for $3 million. This is put against the beach utility. There were some questions before about what gets put against the beach utility, what gets put against the current fund. The first resolution for $2 million we put against the current fund, gets reimbursed by FEMA. The second one is put against the beach utility, but with the same type of reimbursement from FEMA. Again, minimum of 75%, but pushing for more than that. So I need a second.
Second?
Councilman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman Gunner?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
We're at 3 million and it's going to, this is for what, this is for what they're doing out the beach,
Correct.
all that stuff.
Correct. Clean up, what we're doing now.
Yes.
Councilman Nicolak?
Yes.
Mayor Dyer?
Yes. Next resolution, this one is, has nothing to do with the water or general fund. When I say water, I mean beach utility. This is an emergency authorization for $2 million for our water utility. This is an emergency we're having currently on 13th Avenue. There are parts of 13th Avenue today where people consistently have brown water. It stains their clothes. I've been to their houses. It stains their toilet bowls. It stains their sinks. It stains their bathtubs. You know, to steal a line from our previous business administrator, these water lines are shot. We already have a contractor in place to begin the work, the emergency work, which we need to do now, which is replacing the water lines. Part of that, though, while we're doing this, we're also going to look to replace sewer lines, not technically an emergency, but it's under the same category, and also repaving 13th Avenue. Anyone's driven down there and anything less than a Humvee, you get bounced around a bit. So this is a resolution, again, this would be an emergency authorization for $2 million from the water utility for water improvements on 13th Avenue. A second?
Second.
Councilwoman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman Gunner?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolak?
Yes.
Mayor Dyer?
Yes. Next resolution requesting permission for the dedication by rider for Superstorm Sandy. Sounds better than hurricane. Superstorm Sandy. Frankenstorm. 2012 contribution required by NJSA 40A:5-28 or 29. This establishes a fund structure for Belmar.com donations and allows for storm-related spending. Need a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman Gunner?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
We're using this money for the boardwalk, or it's really up to us, just out of?
It's up to us. Primarily, it's be going to more basic needs, food, some housing, but primarily food.
Yes.
Councilman Nicolak?
Yes.
Mayor Dyer?
Yes. Next resolution authorizing the advertising for sealed bids for materials and construction of our boardwalk.
Second?
Oh. Thought you were gonna say some more.
Hold on, wait.
Councilman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman Gunner?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
If let's say for some reason next month the bond falls through, does that hurt us in any way if we advertise this now? I mean,
The council has to approve any, awarding any bids. So if we don't have the money, we just don't award the project.
yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Next one, the resolution authorizing an emergency purchase for water infrastructure improvements. This is tied into the 13th Avenue project.
So moved.
Councilman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Next, resolution authorizing a state contract purchase for police vehicles. As I mentioned before, we lost many vehicles due to salt water infiltration.
Second?
Councilman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Will FEMA pay for this also? The vehicles?
We are going to do our very best to have FEMA compensate us for at least 75% of them, yeah. I mean, it's related to the storm, so they should.
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Are these the vehicles that are in the last resolution, payment of bill list? The Seacoast Chevy vehicles? They're the same vehicles? The last resolution as the Seacoast Chevy vehicles, is that what these are?
I believe the ones on the emergency purchases are DPW-related vehicles. The ones on this one,
There is one that's from Seacoast.
one from Seacoast.
Okay, how many vehicles did we get?
Captain Heisen, how many vehicles did we purchase? Police vehicles that were damaged?
I believe 8 or 9 at this point.
Yeah, 8 or 9.
Wow. They were just from driving around, from sitting in the parking lot, and,
Yep. They were driving through saltwater,
yeah,
and unfortunately, we lost many vehicles.
okay. Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Next resolution, assessing a lien on a property for property maintenance. We have a property owner who just does not want to take care of their property, and it's beyond a nuisance. We send them letters, we send them violations, and then we send in DPW to clean it up so we don't have to look at it. This just assesses a lien on that property.
I'll second it.
Councilman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
What's the lien amount up to this, for just this year that we put on this gentleman? Do we know, Mike?
A lot. If this is at least worth the time that I'm aware of, it's about the same amount every time.
And he's not getting the message. Yes.
This is the same gentleman that we did earlier this year.
Yep.
This man has mental problems, he needs help, taking his money is not gonna solve this problem. He needs a wellness check from the county social workers, I vote no.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. The next 3 ordinances on the agenda, I am going to recuse myself out of an abundance of caution.
Resolution authorizing a state contract purchase, we did that. Resolution authorizing emergency purchases.
Second?
Councilman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
These are all things damaged in the storm. I'm just reiterating to make sure I understand everything. I did talk to FEMA today. They assured me 75% of this will be covered. That leaves, I just want to do the math real quick. I'm voting yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
And I abstain.
The next one is resolution authorizing a state contract purchase for garbage and debris removal.
I'll second that.
Councilwoman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Do we know how much this is for? up and, yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Is this the next one?
No.
Oh, okay, I got it. A resolution approving a payment of bills list.
I'll second that.
Councilman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
And I abstain. Next is our consent agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Councilman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Dyer?
Yes. Next is our ordinance calendar. This is second reading and public hearing. So if anyone wants to make any public comments or questions on this ordinance 2012-14, and an ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 19, traffic, of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of Belmar, sections 19 through 46, handicapped parking spaces on Snyder Avenue. Any public comment or question on this? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll also make a motion to move and approve ordinance 2012-14.
Second?
Councilman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Dyer?
Yes. Next, our first reading and introduction, ordinance 2012-15, bond ordinance providing for the reconstruction of the boardwalk at Beachfront, in and by the Borough of Belmar, in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, appropriating $20 million. Therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $20 million of bonds or notes of the borough for financing the cost thereof. Give me a second.
Second.
Councilman Becky?
Yes.
Councilman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Couple quick questions. So for the record, we don't know what FEMA's gonna give us yet, is that correct?
We know a minimum of what FEMA's gonna give us.
What is that?
75%.
Okay, I spoke with FEMA today, I'm not saying you're wrong, Mayor, I'm saying that they are gonna assess our boardwalk with a formula of what they thought it was worth. Or we don't, if we spend 20 million, that doesn't mean we're gonna get 75% of the 20 million back, is that correct?
No, that's incorrect. If we spend 20 million, at a minimum, we'll get 75%.
Okay, the FEMA person I spoke with today, you want to get that clarified? Can anybody clarify? I heard there's a formula that they give us, because I brought up, look, our boardwalk is much better than these guys, we should get more money. They said they have a formula they go by of what we're gonna get. I would like to know what money we're getting from FEMA before we decide how much we're gonna borrow.
Well, that's a good point. That's why we are not talking about the seawall, because we haven't been able to contact them and discuss to a level that we're comfortable with, that they'll reimburse us 75% yet for the seawall. We want their blessing first. But in regards to replacing what was existing, it's a minimum of 75%.
Okay, I talked to, the gentleman I talked to today said something different. I'm not saying the mayor's wrong. I have to, this is the first reading. This is all being paid off by the beach, correct?
This is a bond ordinance that, as I mentioned before, is not a cost to the current fund, but rather the beach utility.
Robin, that's why I asked you, how did we do this year? Did we break even at the beach when it's all said and done? Did we lose a little bit? Did we gain a little bit? Because, I mean, we have to pay this off. Any idea where we are?
Well, one of the things I mentioned before was we are going to ensure that adding this debt service on will not be borne by the taxpayers. So if we are required to raise beach badges from $7 to $8, based on last year's revenue, that will generate about a little over $300,000. And last year was an okay year for us. I mean, it was weather-wise. It was the second time in the last maybe 15 years that Belmar generated over $3 million in gross revenues. We replenished our surplus, and again, right now we have no debt. So, you know, in the past, we always allocated, you know, maybe $250,000 to $320,000 towards capital improvements at the beach. With the new boardwalk, we're not gonna have that. Now, last year, we did the same thing, but we didn't come close to expending that much money, because the board was finally finished by the DPW. So the debt service that we're gonna incur will be offset by the revenue generated at the beach utility.
Mayor, this is our first reading, we will have a second reading.
Correct.
I want to get more information on this, I want to know more, what FEMA's going to give us, I want to get more hard numbers. I know there is a second reading coming up. I'm going to vote no, knowing there's going to be a second reading coming up until I can get more information.
Yes.
Yes, ordinance 2012-16, bond ordinance providing for improvements to the 13th Avenue water and sewer mains in the Village of Belmar and the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, appropriating $2 million, therefore authorizing issuance of $2 million bonds or notes of the borough financing and cost thereof. That's fine.
I'll second that.
Councilwoman Bessie? Yes. Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Ordinance 2012-17, ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 45? What is it called? 40. Gotta follow Super Bowl back. 40, development regulation to revise general ordinance of the Borough of Belmar and the County of Monmouth, New Jersey. This is first reading introduction. What this ordinance does is essentially allows property owners in Belmar that were affected by Hurricane Sandy to replace their properties as they existed beforehand, whether or not they are conforming or not conforming.
Will that affect our ordinance of the auxiliary houses in the back? Could there possibly be a loophole that someone's rebuilding something in the back that was damaged by Sandy that would allow them to have an auxiliary house in the back?
No. If they had one in the back before Sandy washed away, they can put back what they had before.
But they can improve it, but still not be able to rent it because they weren't renting it before, correct?
Correct. Whatever was there before can be replaced on this one. This is basically so no property owners suffer because of the storm. Any second?
Second.
Councilwoman Bessie?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Now we come to public session. This is where people will raise their hand. They're called on. Come up front, say your name, address for the record. I keep time. Go.
Who is this?
Forehand.
Who is it?
It gets complicated because I work for the town, 111 3rd Avenue, George Comitas. I just want to tell you, it took me 8 years to get this job. I was never more proud than to work for Mike Campbell and all you guys during this storm. It was really crazy. And I loved working for Robin. I loved working for Bill Young, and I have a lot of respect for you, Mr. Bean. Our kids wrestle together. I have one regret that I never joined the military, so I respect you a lot for being a Marine. But I saw how Colleen worked, and I understand there's other stuff that goes on. But Colleen busted her ass. You do have the best man right now.
We find them for first reading.
Okay, well, we'll have to count our heads. Yes, David.
David Shack, 302 C Street. First, to answer your question, Brian, about the parkway tolls. In my assembly race last year, it was in my platform that we should abolish the Turnpike Authority and turn control of the Turnpike and the Parkway over to the State Department of Transportation and get rid of the tolls and just pay for the roads strictly out of gas taxes and have the gas taxes dedicated strictly for paying for the roads.
What I was getting to is that the state understands a user fee, because the people that drive on the park.
Well, I believe in beach fees. I'm not saying we should have free beach access. I think people should pay for what they get. And if you're gonna have lifeguards out there saving you, that's an expense that has to be paid for. I'm not saying the beaches should be free.
Right, but the only people that should pay for the beach are the people that are using the beach.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that's why I have a problem sort of with accepting all this federal money and state money, because you're taking money by force from other people who don't live anywhere near the beach, might not ever visit the beach, holding a gun to them saying, you're paying for Belmar's new beach. But this isn't what I came up here to talk about. But I don't believe in the use of force, you know, and if you have private company, it's by voluntary association, not by force. But that's not what I came up here to talk about, and if that's gonna cut me off, I really wanna talk about it.
5 years ago,
Well, then you gotta give me time to.
Yeah. 5 years ago, I went to California. Everyone says the beaches in California are free. I went on Thanksgiving in San Diego. After a week, I went to pay my bill for the motel, and there was a fee there. I said, what's the fee for? They said, for the beach. I never went to the beach. It was Thanksgiving, it was November. I never, you know, so the people can walk on the beach in California without a badge. But the people going there, you know, staying in a hotel or for a week, they're paying for the beach.
Well,
Crazy.
I agree with you. I agree with you completely. People should not be forced to buy something they don't want to buy.
Well,
And people should pay for what they're getting. You know, and it should all be voluntary, and the force should not be part of the equation. I'm against using force against people, okay? Unless they're robbing someone or committing a crime or committing fraud or something like that, force should not be part of human interactions, okay? That being said.
Yes, sir.
5 minutes. Now my 5 minutes starts. Okay. These bonds, now you're saying the FEMA is gonna pay 75%, maybe more, maybe 90%. So if we take out a $20 million bond and then FEMA ends up paying $15 million of it, we pay that bond off immediately, right? That portion of it, right?
The 5 million?
No, the 15
Oh,
million.
yes, yes, that's why we're doing short-term financing. You know, another strategy, if we weren't worried about the timing, we would just wait, well, no, FEMA reimburses for what you spend, so you have to spend the money first. You know, you never be able to save up $20 million.
Right, I understand. But, so these bonds, whatever portion we get reimbursed by forcing other taxpayers in other parts of the country to send us money, that will be used to immediately to pay off that pay off these bonds and not for something else, right?
They pay what are called receipts. So when a contractor finishes the boardwalk, we pay the contractor, they give us a receipt, we take the receipt, we go to FEMA pays us the money.
And then we immediately pay off the bond,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Okay, just one other thing. I guess you noticed Mr. Seebeck's been filming the meetings the last couple of times, and he very kindly has offered his videos if I want to post on my blog as a public service, in full, unedited, you know, just incomplete. And no, I wouldn't edit it. I would post it up there, just so if people can't attend the meetings, they could go 24/7 anytime and just watch a meeting. But I wouldn't edit it. It would be completely just a raw footage from beginning to from when he starts taping to when he stops. And there's no expectation of privacy or anything like that, Mr. DuPont. So that's perfectly legal, right?
There's cases right at the point.
I'm sorry?
There's cases right at the point allowing it.
Yeah, so that's not a legal problem at all.
Pixel my face out.
So, okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Matt, if you charge to smoke on the beach, we can probably pay the bond off.
I'll
pay you reasonable.
Yes, John.
I'm just here to thank especially yourself. The telephones you was announcing and tell us, what to expect and how things working. Because, we don't have that TV, we don't have the lights, we don't have, I appreciate it very much, and me and maybe many more. And all that good work with Jennifer, she was going like can you say hello to nobody? Very busy, very, very busy. So, you have to, and I appreciate it very much, and I cannot. But the people come from Michigan, Wayne, Maryland, all these people should be recognized because they come for our safety, for our helping. We run into everything. I was just the one to give it when I heard the places for far away. Give my place, I get out and let them stay. because we have to appreciate what people they do for others. Believe me. Thank you.
Director Campbell. Not known for public speaking.
No, I'm not.
No, you did a very good job.
Mike Campbell, 112 7th Ave. I do want to say something with George making his statement. There's a statement that was used or is used, I would follow somebody through the gates of hell. It was close to what we did when we went through all this with the people, seeing where they suffered, and I also want to tell you I will follow Colleen again through the gates of hell. I think she's a great leader. I was very confident with everything she's done. She's very intelligent. She's very caring, and again, as far as leaders go, I do think we have the best person for the job.
From the police department, we do a lot of work with Colin, and, you know, he's intelligent, he's very smart, has a lot of good ideas, and we work well with him, and he makes a good choice.
Mr. Seebeck.
Mike Seebeck, 110 Second Avenue. Just a couple follow-on questions. Councilman McGovern, I hate to put you on the spot, but if there's no water around Shade Tree Island, is it an island? I'm only kidding. On the, what?
Island, Belmar is not.
Well, no, the Shade Tree Island, the lake. There's no water in the lake. I was only kidding. Sorry about that. Okay, first off,
That was 30 seconds.
that's okay. I'll be quick. Mayor Doherty, I'm just looking at the bond ordinance here. I really have not had a chance to review the documents and read them through as I typically do before a meeting, but I have been glancing through the documents. And clearly in the bond ordinance that we're issuing for the beach for $20 million, it says that the full faith and credit of the borough are hereby pledged to the punctual payment of principal and interest of the obligations authorized by this bond ordinance. The obligations shall be direct, unlimited obligations of the borough, and the borough shall... That's okay. Is this the gong show? I guess I'm gone now. So these bonds are really GOs of the town, and I know that you are sitting up there as the mayor of the town telling us that it's your heartfelt commitment to see that these bonds are serviced by the beach utility and revenues therein. But I think it's, you know, incumbent upon us going forward to make good decisions, as echoed by Dave Schneck, because this is a tremendous undertaking by the town, unprecedented in the time that I'm aware of in terms of this. So I would love for you to engage us all as taxpayers, residents, neighbors, with as much information on how this council intends to move forward with the spending and usage of this funds in terms of the designs and ideas, schedules, as possible, if I may ask. The second thing is, one of the things you just mentioned briefly that confused me a little bit was $3 million of this bond ordinance. The $20 million is for beach cleanup?
Correct.
And there's a separate $3 million that was just authorized by resolution
To be spent, correct.
to be spent.
They match up together.
I'm confused. Will
3
this,
million equals 3 million.
or is it duplicated, or is one gonna?
Well, there's a resolution authorizing the expenditure,
Right.
and there's an ordinance authorizing the bonds for that expenditure.
So that expenditure is contained within the bond ordinance for the beach?
Correct.
Thank you very much, that clears that up. That was it. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Any other public comment question? Patricia.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Patricia Texa, I own Nostalgic Nonsense Vintage Clothing at 903 Main Street. I just want to say, most of you know I don't live in Belmar. I wish I could, but my house is paid off like 10 years now, so what am I going to do? And I don't mean that as a bad thing. I want to say I'm honored as a business owner to be part of this community. April's husband showed the slide, I swear to God, I was in tears. That's not really why I'm standing up here, okay? I'm just so proud of everybody in Belmar, including the mayor, even, I almost want to call you like a Chris Christie of Belmar, because even the people who don't like you loved you during this, because, well, you gotta gain some weight, but, and people I know from Michigan and Ohio and the state of Oregon have called me, seeing if I was okay, and they've called me back and said, well, your business is okay because you're in Belmar, and we've heard a lot, but people in Oregon are telling me they heard about Belmar, and, I just want to say what a wonderful job that everybody in Belmar did, and I can't be prouder to be part of a community like this, even though I don't live here. Okay, with that said, some of the stuff, you want to talk? Okay. All right. Some of the stuff I'm about to ask is, some of it's going to seem trivial, but between this meeting and the next meeting, and then Christmas comes and blah, blah, blah. As a result of the storm, I don't know the exact address. It's in the high 800s, in between Don's Pizza King and Hanley's Liquors. There's the 2 vacant stores with the apartment upstairs. All of the aluminum siding came down. Has anybody contacted that landlord about the things that are about to happen? Because I see that there's things that with a slight breeze is going to fall down and hit somebody on the head.
We'll address that.
Okay, I mean, it's awful. Okay, and another thing too, that street light right outside on Main Street, right outside of Don's, which wasn't fixed during when Main Street got redone, it's still out. And right now we need all the lighting on Main Street we could get to make it look like a vibrant town. And I know that they were behind, waiting for a part, whatever it was, it's JCP&L. It's kind of like, okay, the storm's over, and I get it that other people have no power, but again, I'm not going to be able to speak till January, and it's going to put it off till March. Okay. With that said, two of the lights in Piano Plaza are out, the one by Don's Pizza King and the one by Conley Campion. I mean, this is like, this is an ongoing thing every year. We need to make Belmar look like we're vibrant, people should come here, and these are parts of the things that should be done.
Absolutely.
Okay, with the lighting thing, Rite Aid, when they redid their whole store and they put up all that signage, which I'm sure they went for a permit to say we could put a sign this big in all our windows. I'm absolutely positive they paid for all those permits. With that said, it's blocked off a lot of lighting on 9th Avenue to the point where it's dark, where if, just like the old bank still has the lights outside, if you could coerce them to put lighting out there, based on the fact that when they made the improvements, they've made the whole side of their building dark, and you could get mugged over there. Again, it all sounds trivial, but it's in the bigger scope, it's not. Same thing with Rite Aid, their fence came down behind them that blocks off the dumpster. And, yeah, okay, that thing too. All right, that's it, and I hope everybody has a nice Thanksgiving. Thank you.
You too, Pat, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Sorry.
Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing, adjourn, and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
I'll second.